Welcome to the Winnie Podcast. This show is focused on empowering ranchers. Whether you're a seasoned rancher or just getting started, we'll guide you on how to use the infinite banking concept as an alternative way to finance your operations. It's a better way to think about money. Join us as we discuss planning for the future, attracting the next generation, and the art of keeping more money within the family. Here's your hosts, Winnie and Lacy.
Hey, welcome in. We are back for another great session and conversation where Lacy and I get to just share our latest insights that we gained for going to Master Marketers in the Making with Doug Ferguson here in Canada for the first time. He was ushered in and hosted by Foothills Forage Grazing Association. So we're not going to get into the nitty gritty and the details of the content because that's what going to the course is all about, the 2-day course with Doug. And I just have to say, not growing up in this industry, and I really gained a lot from this. And I was only able to go in for the 1 day. And then I had my second day, Lacy, we took turns and we oscillated. I sure wish that I didn't have all the meetings that I had on the second day, and I was able to really be in that room with you, Lacy, because I could see that's where like a lot of the rubber was hitting the road with everything that was gained from the first day. And I really liked attending the first day a whole lot. And that was only a week ago. So I'm still excited from it.
Yeah. So Mr. Cattle Master, or Doug Ferguson, he is gaining popularity across the US, and him and his family, his wife and daughter, Amber and Roz, travel along with him. This man has been given a gift of marketing, like marketing cattle. And we got to spend quite a bit of one-on-one time with him and his family and just getting to know them and getting to meet the people behind the Facebook page and the website. It was really, really cool. And so I'm forever grateful for that. But what he is teaching as far as cattle marketing, I told him like it kind of goes hand in hand with what we teach, because he's teaching people something that's outside of the box. It requires some outside of the box thinking. It requires turning off the noise and the comments and the feedback of your peers or keyboard warriors. And so I think last week was fulfilling, and it was a lot of fun, and to learn something new was super cool. So if you've heard about Mr. Cattle Master, you won't be disappointed if you take in one of those courses.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got already a hopping good schedule that's available, that it's going to be in the US for early 2026. And you just have to go to his website to really find out when his courses are. And yeah, highly encourage you to do that. I think it's got a really great mixture of not only that it's very industry specific information, but I also think like everything he also shares in relation to, it's all about how we think. No different than our listeners here who understand through Nelson Nash's teaching. It's all about how you think about your money. That can make all the difference in the world in terms of your results. And I find it inspirational and really empowering to know that someone's also teaching out there. It's like, hey, do you have to structure your business so that you only get one paycheck a year? Is it possible you could do more? This is how. And something that one of my mentors and friends, Tim Francis, he says this often. It's like, what I share with you is the first word, but it's not the last word. And so what I like about that is like, Doug offers a really great first word, like a guideline on what could be possible. And so you can take whatever he shares, and it's up to each individual, each business owner to think about, how could this look like for me? How can I do this? What is possible within my world to put this into practice? But it just generates, as long as you are asking that question, how can I? Or what has to be true to make this happen?
That's something Mary Jo says all the time, is not, I can't, but how can I? Like, how can you? Like, if you know her and her German passion, like, don't tell me I can't do that. I'm just going to say, how can I do it? And Doug kind of was the same way. He was also a guest on the Wealthy Cowboy show. I'd listened to Crockett quite a bit. And part of that episode, he was like, somebody told me I couldn't. And I said, watch. And he's made a career out of marketing cattle in a way that not very many people do. And he says right in that episode, like, I started to realize why maybe I wasn't the most popular person at family Christmas because I sold granddad's cows or whatever, right? So yeah, it was just a true testament of thinking outside of the box, learning, being willing to learn something new, being willing to learn about something that you haven't yet heard of or don't know anything about. That's the first step, is not having arrival syndrome, as Nelson says, but like, okay, let's learn about this. Mm-hmm. And then you get to decide whether it resonates with you and you want to do something with it. Nobody's pressuring you to do it Doug's way, but learn about it and then take from it what you want.
Exactly. And I'll just repeat it again. And I only because I needed it repeated to me. So I'm just making an assumption that it would be nice to hear it again. Take it as the first word, not the last word. And if you go to one of his conferences, even though I'm not necessarily in this business, man, it is like, it just opens up your eyes to how differently you could do things. It gets you thinking, how can I do things differently? How can I do things better?
We even had dinner with a lady who joined us for dinner and said, you know what? I can't remember exactly how she said it, but she has a handful of cows that she sells in July. And she's like, I'll tell you what, that paycheck in July comes in real handy for our family because you're in the thick of summer and you're not selling the calves for another few months. And so that has changed even their family's operation, just that tad little bit. It gives you that little bit of breathing room, a little bit of grace, right? But what did it require? It required her thinking outside of the box and doing things a tad bit different than maybe everybody else does them so that she can have that influx of capital in the dry months.
Yeah. And I think quite often as I walk down the road of serving the agricultural community, I feel grateful because for those who are definitely in the cattle industry, there's only usually one paycheck a year. And for those of us that live in the city, just imagine just for a second how life would be structured differently if you were only paid once a year, and the amount of stressors that can happen for those who take the sacrifice and live that lifestyle to be able to help put food on our table. So I'm really grateful for having been a part of this 2-day conference to know that there's hope for those that only get one paycheck, that there could be an extra paycheck in the mix of all of this. Because that also helps with, in my opinion, if you are able to create a situation for yourself where you have more financial tailwind. And that's what we feel like whenever we have extra money coming in, where we feel like we can get ahead of our bills, or not just catch up, but get ahead of our bills. How does that change our capacity to be available, like emotionally available for people around us?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. What we always say, you and I both, like our financial health is directly impacts our mental health. I believe that to my core.
Yeah, it impacts our ability to be more patient. I think when we feel like things are taken care of in the background, especially around money, we just feel like we can be more patient with others. You know, we can be more patient with ourselves, and we can actually have more ability to think a little bit more clearly. It's tough if we're always operating from the survival mindset.
Yeah, survival or reactive, right? Yeah.
Being mindful of what Doug teaches. One thing that we could also address, what was really great about what he was sharing, was the point about how infinite banking and this process can really support each other.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how the reality is that even the best marketing plan means nothing if your profit goes to interest and to debt and the cash flow margin is all eaten, right? We can market all we want and hit the best marketing weeks. We know in the cattle market, we have like highs and then, they soften a little bit is the verbiage that's used, like, the market softened some. And what can we do and how can we get there to that place where if we hit a week where the market is softer, that we're not like, that really cost us X amount of dollars or whatever? Where can we get to a place where we have more control?
I almost feel like I'm going to have to go back to one of Doug's conferences to make sure I take in the whole thing next time. So I'm only operating on one day. And if I'm this jacked on one day, then I know the second day is even better. Or, then I'll get the full story. I think regardless of whether I was there for the second day or not, having to pay interest when you don't need to cuts into profits. And it's money that we'll never get back. So having a system like the infinite banking system for cash flow management, especially when you're practicing something like the strategy that Doug talks about, I feel like it's even more paramount so that you can continue to practice this strategy on a long-term basis without it feeling like it's going to make you gun shy because all of a sudden, if the timing isn't right or the price isn't right, that all of a sudden you felt like, you know what I mean? Like you lost your confidence to keep going because of the loss that could be created from getting started on a new skill set.
Yeah. And we actually have a brand new client who came to us because he had attended one of Doug's classes in the US. And in meeting and talking with him and his wife, he's like, it works. Like I came home and I implemented what he taught me. And he's like, it worked better than what I had been doing. And so there's proof right there. And because Doug's a believer in IBC, that's, how this family was led to us. And we're helping them with putting their dollars to work for them. So it's really cool to see that full circle moment. And I know that Doug does have a couple more classes coming up, one in February, one in March. So if you are at all intrigued, because there was a wait list of about 25 people. So I'm just looking online. Lincoln, Nebraska and Bismarck, North Dakota. They're hosting 2 classes. So if you go to mrcattlemaster.com, you'll be able to see those. February 10th, Lincoln, Nebraska starts. And March 10th, Bismarck, North Dakota starts. So those are pretty easily accessible for Canadians. Infinite banking compared to what Doug is teaching is just a great comparison as we try to hit those better market weeks with our cattle or our grain even. But okay, what if we hit those best markets, but we miss the compounding of those dollars? That's a big thing here. What if we could do both? What if we are diligent, we hit those high weeks, those best marketing weeks, but then we also turn around and take that money, put it to work for us for the rest of our lives? It's the best of both worlds.
Right. So this brings up something for me, and just like a core thing that was also talked about was just like, it comes back to fundamentals. When you practice the fundamentals and you understand the fundamentals, then you'll easily know what action to take next. So in being able to speak to IBC fundamental, this is about the way that you, like the infinite banking concept. Once again, I will say it again, this is a mindset, right? And the financial tool used happens to be a dividend paying whole life insurance contract. The mindset that should be used so that you can optimize the way you spend and save money is, again, by understanding the fundamental of that every time you spend $1, you're either giving up interest to someone else or you are giving up the interest you otherwise could have earned. The interest you otherwise could have earned is also known as opportunity cost. The amount of money that the amount of interest that you have given up because you have spent money from your bank, like as if it was cash, and you didn't put it to work for you before it left your bank account. Right? This is what Lacy's talking about, like not compounding, the money. So if you're doing something like this strategy or whatever you're doing as it relates to building your income, right? Or whether it's your regular paycheck or you're doing something extra, or maybe you have some windfall of money come in. If you have no idea of how you can intentionally optimize that money before it leaves your pocket again, then this is what Lacy and I do all the time. This is what we're wanting to plant those seeds, wanting to pour some water so that it continues to grow in you so that you understand that. Come back to using your policy. The more that you finance every single thing that you buy through your policy, you don't have to lose out on the opportunity cost, or you don't have to lose out on paying interest to someone else. Everything that you do today, you can optimize so that you can keep more money for the future. But it all starts with what's in between our ears.
Yeah. And if we're willing to, one, block out the naysayers. I saw something yesterday this week is the National Finals Rodeo. And I saw something about Shad Mayfield. He won the round in the tie down roping last night. And he said to the naysayers, say it louder, I just proved you wrong and I'm just getting started.
Love it.
And I'm like, yeah, you go. Like, that's good. Because he's like, naysayers aren't going to stop me. And that's sometimes easier said than done. But we do have to constantly be on the when, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You know, it could be exercise, weight loss. I'm going to eat 400 grams of protein in a day, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is. I'm going to do IBC, or I'm going to implement what Doug taught me at the class. You have to block out the naysayers, and you got to have some thick skin to be able to do that. And just like Shad, watch me. I was like, that's really, really good. And he said that on national TV. So,
yeah, good for him. Having that level of self-confidence in choosing the path that you want to choose is sometimes it's a journey to get there. You have to work through a lot of, I don't know what the mentality is called, but when we give in to peer pressure, we want to know that what we choose to do is accepted by others.
And I mean, people are going to look at you sideways when you go to step outside the box and do something different. And that's probably never going to change. That's human nature.
Yeah.
And we have to be confident in the path that we pick and just run with it. I've met with several people over the past 2 weeks. I would say most of those people have said, I wish I would have booked the appointment a year ago when I bought the book. Mm-hmm. Well, I wish I would have known about this 25 years ago.
Oh, get this. Yeah, get this. So it just so happened that in attending this conference that Doug has, I had been meeting with a gentleman. We had probably like 6 or 7 meetings. This was like almost 6 years ago, but it was always online. So being at Doug's event, it was the first time we had actually met in person. And it just came full circle for him. It's like, man, oh man, life just got really crazy. At the time when I was meeting with him, he was like learning to transition from his parents doing the operation, and then him really taking over, and then him, including his wife in on the whole thing, and then having kids on top of all that. Mm-hmm. And then kind of managing all of those pieces. Time slid by. And so in meeting him, he's like, okay, 6 years later, let's get this rolling again.
And I always say, yes, that is the most common feedback that we get. Mm-hmm. But I always say, you know what? It happens when the time is right. Yep. We come back around to it when the time is right for us. I mean, yeah, we can say, oh man, I wish I would have known about this 20 years ago. But would we have implemented it 20 years ago? Don't know. So the time is right when it's right. But also, I always say this too. If you get the book, read it. Read it right away. Because then you know whether it's something you want to look into. And if it is, then you look into it. If it's not, you check it off your list. And I actually had a meeting this week. They had read the book a year ago, exactly, but he just reread the book this week. And the information was so fresh in his mind, I hardly had to explain anything. I said, this is why people should book meetings right after they read the book, because your understanding of it and your retention of the information is so fresh.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's better.
And not only that, there's something that Doug was saying in his sessions, like what the hand does, the mind remembers. The same thing is when you read something, when you really take the time to read and also listen to it, your ability to retain that also increases greatly. Lacy and I are getting to the point now too, because this is gaining a lot of traction for a lot of people. People are a lot more curious about the infinite banking concept, but we are at the point where we do need to meet with people that have just read the book. Like, we'll set aside more time for people who have read the book because now we have a lot more traction, better conversations, better questions are coming out of people who have read the book. Whereas even if we meet and you haven't read the book yet, but you're just wanting us to try to explain everything to you, we're probably not going to be likely to do it because there's just so much to get to know about what this is all about. And we know the reality of how much value you're going to get when you do read the book versus if you don't. Honestly, we're just going to save each other's time too, if I do that.
We all hold a level of responsibility for our own finances, our own path, and reading the book is part of that.
Yeah, like we definitely can't. We're not here, like, again, we're not here to convince you that this is the right thing that you need to do. You need to decide that for yourself. We're biased. Of course, we're going to tell you that this is the great thing to do. So you need to come to the conclusion yourself that this is a great thing to do. It's one thing to say, hey, I want to do this versus, oh, you sold me to do this. No, I don't want to sell you on anything. Forget that.
No. We're here to help you, not convince you. Yeah. Help you, teach you the way, coach you after you've have policies in place. We're not here to convince you. Like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess lastly too, like, it was really great because in this past 2-day conference, it happened to work out that Reed was able to join your husband. And my question to you is, like, you were one of the very, like, other than Doug and his wife being there, I think that there might have been one more couple that were there, like as a husband and wife team. And although we were there for Rancher Way and sharing the infinite banking concept, but you were still in the room. Reed was in the room as a student. What came out of it for both you and Reed?
We're all in the same, I'll call it a rat race, where we're all trying to make a living in agriculture, doing what we love on the land that we love. For us, it was mostly like opening the possibilities of like, oh, okay, like, yeah, you could do this. You could totally do this on a small scale, start off on a very small scale. But the other thing is he talked mostly about stockers, which is feeder calves here, yearlings would be. But he also talked about cows, like mother cows. And so that was like, oh, okay, that piques another area of interest. So like, well, there's some opportunity to do the same type of thing with mother cows or cow-calf pairs or whatever. So for us, it really just broadened the horizon of like, oh, we could dabble in a little other things that maybe they bring in those little windfalls of capital throughout the year, maybe for our kids too.
So with that in mind, if you think about the broader sense, now, like the broader sense of things for in general, there's a lot of common long-term objectives when we talk to any one of our clients, whether you're in crops or livestock or a mixture of the two, is that when you're finally in a state where you can actually think about, okay, if I do this, this, or this, then how long is it going to take me to pay things off? And I think probably one of the biggest things is probably like the payment of land or something, or the payment of paying out somebody else so that you can pay out their shares and then fully be able to have the whole operation for your family. Do you think that putting something like this in place would potentially create the opportunity to pay off land faster or pay out someone else's shares faster than you would originally anticipate if you just stayed doing the same thing of what you're doing?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because anytime you can produce extra income over and above what you plan to have, if you're a good steward of it, the possibilities are endless. Like, yeah, maybe you can pay off that mortgage sooner. Maybe you can build that shop sooner or barn or whatever it might be. 100%. Like, this is one of those things where what's interesting about it is that you can start on a very small scale in a lot of different ways, whether you have grass or corrals at home. You don't necessarily have to have thousands and thousands of acres to do something like this. And maybe you start with 5 and then 7 and 9 or whatever it might be. So like totally you could. And that's why we say like our boys could totally do this.
Yeah. But I also say this because I think sometimes like there's always that a part of what we always talk about, Lacy, is attracting the next generation. Right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's tough to attract the next generation if we're struggling. And if we're struggling, then our kids are watching. Or sometimes we may be struggling, or anybody at any time. There's always that crux in a person's journey. It's like, do we continue doing this or should we just do something else?
Yeah. And I think that's why, like we've talked about that before, that's why we're losing farms. Mm-hmm. We're losing family farms because it's easier to go make money somewhere else.
Yeah.
And pay things off. It's easier to pay off a house in town or an acreage with a steady income from your job than it is to make money in agriculture sometimes. And the stress is lower.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lacy, what we do here, we hope that it reduces the amount of stress that for any of you in operations. And what really drives us is just being able to help you guys not only keep your farm or your ranch for another generation, hopefully for more generations than that. But it's also about just like the very fact of this all comes down to like freedom. And it's not just freedom for yourselves, it's also food freedom for the rest of it. Like you guys don't even realize how much you guys play a role in the importance of the rest of our country in being able to have freedom of choice in what we eat and the quality of food that we eat. If it wasn't for people like ourselves standing up for you to advocate and be your like, hey, we're a lighthouse over here, there's other ways that you can do this, then our lands or your lands that you guys are stewarding and homesteading right now is going to end up being in the hands of huge corporations. And then the more that happens, lessens all of our choices. So I want you guys to stay free and prosperous. So, because I guess it's selfish. I like food and I like choice of food. So this is all for me being selfish. And I'm just like, do this. But yeah.
But I think too, like farmers and ranchers, like let's get selfish too, right? Like a little bit with the land that we love and the lifestyle that we love to lead and how we love to earn our money. And so let's do what we can to protect that and to attract it for those kids that are up and coming. I mean, we have 3 kids and I don't know if any of them are going to want to have a life in agriculture, but if they do, it'd be nice to be able to help them do that. So yeah, this has been a great episode. All in all, like Mr. Cattle Master, Doug, his wife Amber, and their daughter Roz, super great people. You will be better for knowing them. You can head over to his website, mrcattlemaster.com, and check out his marketing schools that are coming up in February and March, and zip down, take a little trip to the US and learn how you can market some cattle a little bit different way. So if you are interested in learning more about farming without the bank and infinite banking, head over to our website, ranchyourway.com, snag the book. And we also have the audiobook now, so you're going to get it on a bundle. And then you can watch our podcast on YouTube. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
So glad you leaned in with us on the Winnie podcast. We truly hope you're feeling more informed and empowered to take another step towards optimizing your financial life. Right now, make sure you hit subscribe so you can keep growing and learning with us. Until next time, we wish you prosperity in every area of your life.